30 seconds? All right, welcome everyone to another Peaceful Solution Character Education Teacher Training Certification course. We thank everybody for arriving here and those of you online that are watching. Now, whether you're first coming in or coming online and looking at this and seeing what's this Peaceful Solution all about, or whether you're a seasoned Peaceful Solution student or teacher, or one that is hoping to become a Peaceful Solution teacher, we should have something for you here tonight. So what we're going to be doing is we're in the acceptance unit, and we'll be starting, well, the new chapter on page 109. That's actually where the students will come in at with us, but let's go ahead and prior to that, we've got the lesson plan. And if you turn back to lesson plan 6, page A, this is the note to the teacher. That's you and me as teachers of the Peaceful Solution, teachers in training. This is a note for you. And the reason that this note is here is for us to get a concept of what this lesson is all about. We are going to look at this note and break it down a little bit, and we'll also go back to the last lesson and look at a couple things, and we'll also go forward into the lesson briefly just to give you an overview of what we're going to be doing here. So let's go ahead and get started on lesson plan 6, page A. Reach for your goals. This is the chapter, chapter 6, reach for your goals. Now, some people have an innate ability to set goals and to achieve them. You know, it just comes kind of natural, if you will. It seems so easy it comes so easy to them. Others must be taught the value of setting their minds in advance to achieve a particular objective and to do everything within their power to accomplish that end. Now, all throughout the Peaceful Solution Character Education program, we talk about setting our minds in advance. You know, setting our minds in advance to be ready for when a situation comes our way. How are we going to handle it this time? Are we going to handle it better than we did last time? You know, so this is something that we have to keep in mind, that this is actually a goal. When we set our mind in advance, we're setting a goal that we're going to do better next time. We're going to handle this the right way. Now, the ability to set goals and to work to accomplish them builds character and self-worth. For this reason, goal setting must be taught as part of acceptance. Every individual, young and old, must work towards and achieve something worthwhile if they are to enjoy personal satisfaction from life. Yet so often we see children who live only for the moment with no clear direction to their lives. And even in that situation where they're living only for the moment, you know, what we'll find when we're looking at this goal setting is that everybody sets goals, whether positive or negative, and whether they're important goals or long-term goals, short-term goals, and so forth. But we'll find that that people look at goals differently. I'm not going to say everything about this yet. We're going to do a little overview, and you'll see what I'm talking about in a minute. But if you know somebody like this who seems to live only for the moment, you know, think about it, because it's because they weren't taught. Either they weren't taught, or, you know, they just didn't listen and they've thrown it all to the wind. But it's likely that they weren't taught, possibly because their parents weren't taught, or possibly even their teachers, like teachers in school and so forth, weren't taught. And keeping in mind that even in school, where we set goals from time to time, like, okay, there's a test on Friday, and so we have a goal that we're going to cram for that exam. We're going to get that information in, and we're going to try to be ready for that test. Well, that's a goal. It might not be a written goal, but it's a goal. And some never really transition from that type of goal setting to real life events. And when I say real life events, I'm talking about not just those little day-to-day things that we look at. Another goal might be somebody in the workplace looking at the crew and saying, we've got to get this done by lunchtime. We have to get this done by lunchtime. We have to move on. Well, okay, so he's setting a goal for them to work towards right there, okay? So these things take place every day, but now what about the bigger picture? And this is what we're going to be talking about is that big picture. Yes, the short-term goals are extremely important, especially as we keep in mind that they must be done in a respectful manner, using positive moral character to achieve these goals. That same supervisor wouldn't break out a whip and start hitting them with it, to try to get them to move faster. That would not be proper. You might put a carrot out there to get them to get it done quicker. I've seen that occur before, actually, where a job was supposed to be done at a certain time, and the boss, whether it be the president of the company, the supervisor, whatever, might throw a carrot out there and say, guys, we're a little bit behind schedule, but if we can pick up the pace a little bit and everyone put forth some extra effort and we get this done by the end of this month, there's a bonus waiting for everybody. Well, all of a sudden, a lot of people will take that and make that their goal for that, short range, for that short term. So, we need one thing to keep in mind is that in goal setting, we need a system to get there. You've got to have you can't just set a goal. And as a teacher, we want to teach the children or the individuals we're working with to set goals, but we've got to get them to set goals that are achievable, and we also have to show them how to achieve that goal. And this is where a system comes in. For instance, if our goal is to improve our character through let's just say we want to improve our character. We know we have issues, and we go to looking around. One of the things we might start on doing is we look around, we try to find a way to do this, and then we find out about the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program and look at it and say, wow, that looks like the answer to what I need to do. Well, guess what? It doesn't occur overnight. You've got to have that system. In fact, with the Peaceful Solution, we have a system with our intermediate program. In fact, it starts out, we have programs that are available for preschool, pre-K. We have parenting programs. We have, all through the grade system, we have programs for every child. And then you get to the intermediate level, and then we have 5 units that you go through and get to the end, and you're still not done. Those will be used the rest of your life. And then you can move on to building moral excellence, and then the workplace manual even. And so it goes. You're constantly trying to achieve that goal. Now, some goals, of course, you'll achieve just like the getting done by lunchtime. You'll achieve that or not in a shorter period of time, and it's a lot less life-changing in most instances. But let's continue on. We were up there where it says, yet so often we see children who live only for the moment with no clear direction to their lives. They're just willy-nilly, whatever feels great, do it, and go for the gusto, and they just go from one thing to another. Now, these are the students who are classified as underachievers, not working up to their potential or doing the quality work they are capable of. And this is where we come in, similar to what we talked about in the last class. This is where we as teachers and adults come in to where we can encourage and say positive things to encourage these students to move on and do positive things in their life and not be underachievers. We can help them work up to their potential, and so that they can see the value that they have too. So in addition to poor schoolwork, this lack of drive and motivation will affect their family lives and ability to make sound moral decisions. Now, that's one of the things that a goal setter, one who achieves the goals that they set, there's a bit of drive that comes into that, and the motivation that that comes into achieving that goal. If you were out in the woods and stranded and hadn't had anything to eat for a few days, you might be highly motivated to find food. Where if you were well fed and weren't lacking anything, you might not be so motivated to find food in a short period of time. You could do without for a while. So the motivation that is at hand will affect our ability to achieve these goals. And so, we got to look at what motivates us. And we want to be there to help the student figure these things out. What motivates them to do a better job? What motivates them to look to the future? What motivates them to set realistic goals? I've heard people say, well, I want to own a business, a big business when I get older, or I want to be a fireman, or, I want to be a millionaire. Well, what are they going to do? That's like a goal that's just thrown out there, and there's not really much of anything set towards that. But now, on the other hand, if somebody says they want to be a pilot, and, maybe there were pilots in their family too, maybe dad or granddad was a pilot, or an uncle was a pilot, or a sibling is a pilot or something, that would add a little more intensity to the project there, if you will, because now there's something that they're a little bit accustomed to and a little bit familiar with, and there might be some possibilities because they have other people in their life that could help them focus on that if that's really what they wanted to do. But to say, well, I want to be a pilot, and then not know how to go about it, and possibly the motivation isn't really there to dig and find out. It's just one of those things. Well, I'd kind of like to be a pilot. These goals, the goals have to be something that you understand and that you desire or need, to achieve certain goals. But in these things, know that in this lesson, students will understand that purpose in life and goal setting go hand in hand. In fact, I'd like to go back for a minute, if we will, to the last lesson, last class we had, Lesson Plan 5, page E. And as the teachers, we need to keep in mind, we have a lesson plan in the books. In the Peaceful Solution Character Education books, we have a lesson plan. It's laid out for us to help us, to guide us, to help us achieve the goal, to help us achieve that goal. These are tools to help us achieve that goal of getting this message across to our students. Now, in Procedure 9, emphasizing that the more focused and determined the students are, or they are to achieve their purpose in life, the more meaning life will have for them. Well, these are goals that we're talking about here. Being focused and determined to achieve their purpose in life. So once we can help them find out what that purpose in life is, then they can get on a track, on a real track of setting some real goals, real positive goals to achieve this. And then if you look on down to Procedure 10, of course we went through what I've learned and so forth, and all these things were said, but we're focusing on them now because it goes so hand in hand, and it's so important as part of this system of achieving these goals. Having a purpose in life helps the student to make a right choice when faced with a decision to conform to a negative standard or in order to fit in or feel accepted. Now, this comes into play with goals too. There are some people that in their lack of moral preparation have set goals that were, they were achievable. But in the process, in their system of achieving that goal, they did not have positive moral character instilled in there. They were trying to reach their goal in whatever way they had to reach it. And there's many stories out there of, someone wanting to be the valedictorian at school or something, and they were willing to do anything to push anyone else out of the way and take control of that situation and be that person. Or, the person that was determined to be, class president, and they were willing to degrade and belittle and say all kinds of untrue things to try to get their way to achieve that goal that they set for themselves. So we have to be careful, and we have to get this across. We have to build this within the students, and hopefully with the Peaceful Solution program, with this program, with all the teaching we've been doing with our students, building them up to this time, they will have a great understanding of how important it is to have that in their life, and have that in this system of achieving the goals, if you will. So learn the importance of differentiating between positive moral goals and those that are negative, self-defeating, and even dangerous. Self-defeating and even dangerous. When it comes to goals, once again, gangs have goals. Their goal might be to go out and sell they might have got a shipment of some drugs in, and they want to get rid of these drugs by the end of the week. So they have a goal to do that, right? But it's not a positive goal. And in achieving their end, there's going to be a lot of negative things that take place and a lot of harm that come to people along the way. And it's going to have a lasting ripple effect too. Now, on the other hand, if we have positive moral goals, then along the way of achieving our goals, we're going to help other people. We are going to leave a path of peace behind us rather than a path of destruction. Some countries, when achieving their goals, they want to be, a world power that other nations must reckon with. And so they might have the goal of that might be such an important thing in their mind that they're willing to create weapons of mass destruction to get people's attention. This is a path of destruction that's left behind them. This goal setting applies in all facets of life. I mean, from the small child that you're teaching, the toddler that you're teaching to take their first steps. You're doing some goal setting there and helping them with goal setting, to other different areas of their aspects of their life. In growing, it's a common thing that these goals are set and achieved, and we want to do all of them in a positive way. Now, even in some of those goals that seem like such a simple thing, some families don't achieve those goals in a positive manner. Some people want to punish rather than encourage. Punish when the mistake is made rather than encourage to continue on to doing things the right way. So appreciate, one of the things that we're going to do here is appreciate that goals, regardless of how big or small, should be pursued. Yeah, positive goals. Positive goals with a positive moral character in your system to achieve those goals, whether small or a lot big or small, should be pursued as long as they're right goals. We also want the student to understand that goals require steadfastness, responsibility, and many other positive character traits. Now, this is what we're talking about. The steadfastness. Now, when you first hear that, you might think that, well, that's for long-term goals, And it is. That's a fact. But it's for all goals, because that steadfastness comes into play with, you might see that you could achieve your goal by skirting around a certain thing and cheating just a little bit. You could get there faster. But if you remain steadfast in wanting to do it the right way and not hurt anybody, leave that path of peace behind you rather than the path of destruction, then you want to remain steadfast in your ability to practice great moral character, positive character traits with the people you're dealing with. In fact, let's go ahead and turn to page 14 in the character unit. Remember now, we'll be using the character unit from time to time, and it's great to have it with you if you possibly can. And for those of you that don't have it, or that don't even have the acceptance manual, you can go to Official Peaceful Solution Facebook page, and at the top, on the right-hand side, at least on my device, on the right-hand side, you can actually download the, and I might be using the wrong terminology, you can open it up or download the books that you need free of charge to follow along and learn. And also revert back to from time to time when you need to, which we all do. So these positive character traits that are needed to reach your goals in a positive manner, let's go over a few of them. We don't want to ever forget about these things. So these are the positive character traits, page 14. And let's start at the very top. It says that the positive side, this is the positive side of character. And of course, a few pages on over, you'll find some negative character traits too, but we're going to focus on this positive right now. Your character is made up of many different qualities. They're called character traits. Now, character traits can be either positive or negative, as we've spoken about, based upon your values, what you've been taught. You get that? What is in your brain? What's in your heart? What have you been taught? Your choices and your experiences. Now, one thing about experiences when setting goals too, you have to be careful, because if you're not willing to learn from the mistakes of others when trying to achieve a goal, I think an example was given by the author of the Peaceful Solution of a farmer that went out, and his goal was to farm his 1,500 plus acres and have a great harvest and so forth. And he went out there and he just did it. Went out and bought the best machinery and went to the store and bought the best seed and so forth and so on. But he really didn't put the effort into talking with the neighbors in the area or the extension office or what have you, and looking on, online or in books and so forth, to get the information that's needed to see where other people have made some mistakes along the way that he could possibly avoid, and of course went bankrupt. And this occurs all the time. That's just one example of what takes place. It's like the person that says they want to be a internet star, they've got a lot of learning to do on how to get in there and do it the right way if they're going to do something positive also. And that's a key thing in whatever we do. We want to make sure it's something positive and that's going to benefit society rather than harm. So when you demonstrate these traits on a consistent basis, you will be known as a person of integrity. People who have moral character show by their actions and attitude that they care about themselves and about others. So not just about ourselves, but we have to care about the others that we're dealing with also and help them. Become familiar with these words that describe moral character traits and strive to develop them within yourself. So here are some of these traits, and we're going to just talk about a couple of them real quick. And it's like I mentioned about the farmer just a minute ago. He might want to do the number one thing that's listed under positive character traits in the Peaceful Solution, and that is get educated. Getting all the facts and making sure they are correct before making a decision. As one of the other teachers, I think it was William, has brought out, several times, that there are true facts and then there are false facts. That sounds a little strange, but the fact is, it's true. Get all the facts and make sure they're correct before you make a decision. For example, your friends offer you, in this case, some glue to sniff or any type of drug or mind-altering substance, and you've already been researching it and know how damaging it can be to your brain, and you tell them no and warn them of the dangers. And that's just one thing. And that's dealing with something that a lot of teenagers get involved in, a lot of adults, a lot of children, but being respectful, to value others as important as ourselves, and to allow that to show through our actions and attitudes. Through our actions and attitudes. Now, if I'm belittling somebody, well, I'll tell you what, and this takes a lot of work to get past this, because we're taught in society, in media, in school, even in growing up, and in just about everything out there, all the influences out there, we're actually taught to be number one, to be better than anybody else, to compete with everybody and be number one, be better than them, And that's not really the attitude to have. Yes, you want to achieve what you set out to achieve, but there's nothing wrong with helping others achieve it too. There's a race called the human race, and what we want to do in the human race is we want to get to this point of having peace in everyone's lives. You don't have to run the race and jump out in front of everybody to have peace in your life and nobody else's, because guess what? It won't work that way. You can't have peace in your life unless you help others have peace in their life too. It just won't work. All right, being patient. So this is on page 14 again in the character unit. And these are some of the positive character traits that you must have in order to remain steadfast and responsible and to achieve your goals in a positive manner, and even in choosing your goals. So patience, demonstrating self-control and remaining calm through setbacks. Being patient means not complaining. How strong is that? Not complaining? Are you serious? Well, especially when you have a lot to complain about. So this gives an example of, your father promised to take you camping, but work kept interfering with the trip, and you handled it without getting upset. Well, that's great. Some people would get upset about that. Like, you never do what you said, or you never take me where you said you were going to take me. Why do you always, So be patient. I know one definition of patience that I saw was suffering. Suffering. You're willing to suffer in order that the other person can achieve what they need to achieve and overcome what they need to overcome. But just like the waiting in line, for instance, being patient. And then somebody comes along in front of you that might be in a wheelchair or needs some extra help in some manner. And so they're going to the front of the line. Well, you can be patient with that situation and know that, hey, they need help getting there. And you're willing to suffer on their behalf, Number 4, being honest and trustworthy. Being fair, sincere, and straightforward. This gives an example of playing in the house and broke the mother's vase. No one saw you, but you told what occurred and let them know that you're the one who broke it, and was willing to take whatever came your way with that. But you stood up. You were steadfast, and you were responsible, and you spoke the truth. And being honest, trustworthy, that you could earn that trust that comes from actions just like that. Being humble. Now, not being proud or arrogant. A humble person won't argue, dispute, or disobey set rules. Whoa, are you serious? Really? Won't disobey set rules? Okay, well, think about that. A humble person won't do that. They will keep the rules. In this example, the bathroom rule is clean up after yourself when you use the bathroom, and you don't really want to or like to, but you still do it anyway. You know what? That's something to be pleased about, is that you're capable of doing that. All these things work together too. Not one of them works by itself. I don't think you could be a humble person without being respectful and patient and trustworthy. That would be awful hard to do. And I don't think you could be patient and respectful without being a humble person. So, all these things work synergistically together. Also in setting your goals and achieving the goals. And just to break off there for a minute, there are people that set goals, in their mind, and there's people that set goals by writing them on a piece of paper and looking at them all the time and reminding to keep those goals. And throughout the Peaceful Solution, we're shown different ways of doing it. But one of the things that helps show our maturity is when we can write these things down and really look at what we want to do with our lives. All right, another thing is number 6 on page 15, we need to be thankful. Be conscious of the benefits that we've received, especially from the Peaceful Solution, I'll tell you. And then number 7, be forgiving. Forgiving, to refrain from holding anger or resentment towards someone who has wronged you or a perceived wrong. Sometimes people perceive that someone has done something to them and, come to find out much later that they really didn't do anything to them, but yet they've been holding a grudge all this time. It's like we mentioned, I think, in the last class, that holding a grudge against somebody and not being forgiving is like drinking a glass of poison and waiting for the other person to die. It doesn't work. Being steadfast and persistent, and this is what we're talking about in this goal setting. You're determined not to give up or change what you've set out to accomplish. Now, a quick note on that. Unless you find out that what you've set out to accomplish is a wrong thing and it's going to hurt somebody, being determined not to give up, there might come a time when your goal, if you don't have all these things within you, there might come a time where somebody that didn't have a great moral character might put aside the well-being of his family to achieve a certain goal, to where his family couldn't eat or they lost their house or what have you, just to achieve a goal of, wanting to be the best card player at the poker tournament or something, which I wouldn't say would be a great goal in the first place, but people do these things. They set these goals and go about achieving them, and then other people get hurt along the way. You've got to be careful. Number 9, self-control, not yielding to impulsive thoughts and actions. And this is one of the things that can come from allowing negative influences to enter into our minds. The impulsive thoughts and actions, we could change our goal from day to day. We have this goal set that we're going to do something, and we're not steadfast and persistent, and we don't have any controls, and boom, that goal's gone today. Well, we're going to set another goal, and you're constantly setting goals that you're not even trying to achieve. That's not the way to go about doing it either. But how many of these character traits do you recognize in yourself? And then you might say, how many of these do you look at and say, hey, I need to work on some of these things? If you look at the bottom paragraph, if you find that you're lacking in any of these positive character traits, then work hard to develop them. You know what? That is a great goal. A great goal is to work hard to develop these positive character traits in your life. And you know what? There's already a system set out for you. It's called the Peaceful Solution Character Education Program. It will help you achieve that goal. And when you get done, well, you probably never get done. It's a constant thing. But when you get to that point where you're using positive, when your positive character exceeds that of the negative character traits, then you can look and see that you're starting to leave that path of peace behind you, and the destruction is kind of going by the wayside. All right. So I kind of wanted to tell you there's a couple, when we talk about the short-term goals and long-term goals, There's goals of productivity. There's goals of what you want to accomplish short term in your life, and then midterm, then long range, and so forth. And I have right here on the overhead, if you'll take a look, I have a particular goal chart that I used to like to use in sales. And in sales, we would start out the month with zero down here. I mean, it wasn't even red yet. And as we made a few sales, it'd be red. We'd take a marker, put it on the board. And as we started getting closer to the end of the month, we had the goal here on how many cars we wanted to sell. And as we got closer to the end of the month, we would and to our goal, the red line would raise up here and all, and people could look at it at a glance every day. Boom, it was an easy thing to see and be reminded of that goal. It wasn't really hammered on all the time, but it was encouraged, and we did often achieve those goals with this simple process right here. But it was a productivity goal. Now, that doesn't work in every area of life. Now, also, you can keep it simple like that one we just saw, or you can get very complicated. In fact, this one right here, I don't even know if we can get close enough to see anything here, but you can start here in the middle, and that has all the goals around it right there. Then you can move on to, different projects. Wanting to start an online company, some health and fitness things. You might want to focus on your personal excellence. Maybe in a professional realm, you might want to focus on some things. And then, so you set aside some other goals that will help you achieve that. For instance, in professional, you might want to relocate for better professional job prospects, or take some kind of management training course, ask for a promotion, get some certification courses in. And then if you did decide to relocate here, see, you could go ahead, and another goal would be to go ahead and start packing and look for a property. So these goals spread out, and this is kind of a meticulous little goal chart right here. So you can get as complicated as you want to get, and however you think you can deal with the situation. Myself, I would find that a little bit complicated to deal with. And on the other hand, I find, this one quite simple to deal with. So somewhere in between, I think, is where most people would land. And not trying to try to get you to do it one way or the other. It's simply something to know there. You've got to have a system to get to where you want to be. Okay, let's see. One of the things that we have to do on setting our minds in advance is to be able to, which is a goal in itself, of course, is we want to watch our thoughts that come our way, the influences that we were talking about just a minute ago, and we want to be ready for the curveballs and pitfalls that might come our way also. Anyway, I was going to tell you about this investment counselor that I knew, where his goal was to double his money every 7 years. Now, some people might say, every 7 years I want to double my money, like right away, which some people through different investments and I'm not advocating any way, one way or another, and really don't care what a person invests in much, but take Bitcoin, for instance. It has skyrocketed in a very short period of time. People have not only doubled their money and tripled their money and quadrupled their money in a short period of time. They would hear that guy talking about doubling his money every 7 years, and they would think he was stupid. And 7 years sounds like a long time, really. I mean, when you think about it, 7 years, how could he possibly keep on track for 7 years? Well, he had that goal. That is something he believed in quite heavily, and he had a system prepared to achieve that. Now, whether he achieved it all the time, I don't know, but that was his goal. He was shooting for it, and I'm sure he probably did. He probably did achieve that with some of the investments that I know he had. So that's one way that that's one type of goal, a financial goal, and something that he wanted to do the rest of his life, I guess, and do that. And then there's and he wrote things down, and it was very detailed and meticulous to some degree. Then, I knew a guy, and he was in sales. I know a few people in sales, but I knew a guy in sales. And one of the things that he did was he tried his best to do everything the right way. There were other salespeople in the company that he was in that that all they wanted to do was make the sale, make the sale, make the sale. And in this certain instance, you could make the sale, but 3 days later, if the person wanted to cancel, they could. And so part of making the sale was making sure that the sale stuck. And anyways, I remember there was this contest that he was involved in with the company, and he really wasn't too concerned about the contest. He just wanted to keep on doing things the best that he could do, and of course he wanted to achieve great results and be someone that the company trusted in and could rely on to sell the product and so forth. But he wanted to do it the right way. Where I remember he talked about how some of the salespeople took many appointments every day, 5 or 10 appointments every day at least, and they got a little spiff, a few bucks for every appointment that they took, whether it came to any type of fruition or not. And so this contest was for a 1-month period, if I remember correctly. It might have been a couple more, but this guy was kind of like, okay, well, not too concerned about it. He went about doing his daily thing, his system that he had, day in, day out, and his goal was to do the best that he could do for him, the company, and the customer. And an amazing thing occurred along the way. Every day would go by, and there would be these guys that were, putting their name on there. They made this many sales and that many sales, and as it got about halfway through the month, there were people up there with all these sales, and here was this guy that just wanted to do the best he could do every day, to be a great employee. That was his goal, to be a great employee and provide for his family. And so he wasn't even really paying any attention at that point to the contest, because he wasn't going to do it that way. He was going to continue on the set pace that he had in achieving the results he wanted to achieve. So anyway, long story short, the month comes to an end, or 2 months, whatever it was. It came to an end, and there were people that had 3 or 4 times as many sales as this one person. But when it all came together and everything was counted, the person that stayed the course and did things the right way, and to do his best for the company and for the customer and himself, ended up winning the contest, much to everybody's surprise. It's just, how could that possibly occur? Well, it's because the ones that he sold stayed sold. Nobody called back after 3 days and wanted to cancel, or even longer period of time. This company was pretty lenient on things, and they would let people even cancel after a longer period than that, because they wanted satisfied customers. And so all these sales started dwindling from these other people, and the person ended up winning the contest. And amazingly, he wasn't even concerned about the prize that they had, some big screen TV or something, and he already had a big screen TV and didn't watch it much anyway. And so it kind of amazed all the people around. But it was an interesting story, and I just wanted to point out that there are different goals that people have, and where the company thought that setting this prize up for people to sell more, to achieve it, I think what was shown here was that possibly training people more to keep the deal together and treat people properly might have had a better result for the company in the long run, rather than wanting that quick sale. So the company had goals, and they might not have gone quite right in the way of achieving those goals. company had goals, salespeople had goals, and so forth. I'd like to do a little overview. I'd like to poke into the lesson here just a little bit. Let's go over here to. I'm not going to go to the introduction. That'll be taken care of by the next teacher. In fact, I believe that'll be Chris on next week, next Sunday, I believe. If you look on page 110, it talks about being a goal setter. And to set goals, you've got to first identify what you want to accomplish. Your goal could be based upon your experiences and observations, but remember, just like the farmer, sometimes experience can be the worst way to learn. Oh, in fact, here it's talking about farmers. Many farmers go broke each year because they experiment instead of using the proven methods. Okay, and then here's one I wanted to get to right here. You've got to have realistic goals. Be realistic. This is page 116 on into the lesson a little bit, just giving a little quick overview. There will be a more detailed overview next Sunday when Chris is here. But being realistic, you as the teacher kind of need to know, this goes along with a note to the teacher, because you need to know what the program is about, what this particular chapter is about. Be realistic. How long will it take for you to accomplish what you want? Have you even thought about how long it'll take? Have you given it much consideration? Have you looked at how long it has taken other people to achieve that goal? So without considering the time it will take, you might take on more than you can handle within a given time period. Is this something you can accomplish by yourself, or will you need assistance from others? Now, this is where it comes in too, that you can help others achieve their goals. Remember, thinking of others, and being humble, being patient with others, working with others. You can get assistance from others that are interested in you achieving your goals and might have similar goals in mind. So if so, are these people willing to assist you? Keep in mind that the only person you have control over, though, is you. You can't force someone to help you. The willingness has to come from the individual. Now, look on down and it says, well, you need additional information to pursue your goal. So before you commit to pursuing it, make sure you have all the information. Remember, the number one positive character trait listed in the Peaceful Solution, number one is get educated, get the facts, make sure they're true, get all the facts, and then put them to work. Then think about what sacrifices you'll have to make. There are sacrifices to make, but we don't want to sacrifice anything that would cause harm to anybody else, just like the person that might sacrifice their family's meals or something. We want to be very careful what we do. We don't want to bring harm to others in these sacrifices. It's great to have a goal and great to push and want to get there and get there how you can, but doing it positively. Will you need money to accomplish your goal? Well, if so, you've got to have an honest legal means of getting the money you need. You can't decide to go out and steal it, or cheat which cheating is stealing too, but cheating somebody, extorting from somebody to get the money to accomplish what you want to accomplish. You got to be very careful there, because there's many ways of doing that. And as we learn the Peaceful Solution, we look at some of those ways that people can unknowingly, ignorantly steal, and hopefully along the way they'll pay enough attention and learn those different ways so they can avoid them. And then be prepared. Page 117. There's also the possibility of failure. In fact, I think most people that have long-term goals have found that they have failed at some of their short-term goals to achieve that long-term goal. You're going to have things come your way. You're going to have those curveballs and pitfalls. You're going to have negative influences come your way that you're going to have to really guard against to to stay on that track. So the main thing is to get up and go again. In fact, the agony of failure, unrealistic goals usually end in failure because they're not well planned. If you say, yeah, it'd be unrealistic for me to say, I want to make $1 million this week. That'd be very unrealistic for me to do that, But it might not be so unrealistic for, Elon Musk, for instance. I think he could easily accomplish that one. So these things can leave you frustrated. That can discourage you from carrying on or even setting goals. You can just get flat. You can get depressed if you just think about it all the time. So you don't want to set unrealistic goals. You want to set something achievable. And to even know what's achievable, what do you have to get? What's the number one thing? Get educated. Get the facts. Get the true facts. Okay. Here's how it all comes together. Let's look at page 119. So far, you've learned about the importance of having purpose in your life, and of course, that goes right hand in hand with setting goals and of setting positive, realistic goals. When you combine the concepts of having both purpose and goals and consistently practice the skills of setting short and long-term goals, you can increase your opportunities to succeed. Here are some examples of short-term goals that can help you achieve your long-term goal and ultimately your purpose. I'm going back to this little short-term chart right there that you can see. Little short-term chart. You can achieve, you can have something, by the end of the day or by the end of the week or whatever, you achieve that goal, and it can help you move on to your next goal. Manage time and complete all assignments. Number 2, study with the idea in mind that gaining knowledge is the main thing that will help you achieve your goals. Number 3, volunteer to be a tutor at school. It's just an idea that will help you gain experience in dealing with others on a one-on-one basis. And then number 4, get enough sleep, but don't oversleep. Now, I know I hear that a person should have a certain amount of sleep each day, and some people can deal with 8 hours of sleep. Some people deal with a little bit less. Some people deal with quite a bit less. And some people might even be very tired if they got 8 hours of sleep. Other people might find it normal for them to sleep 12 hours in a day, which I would wonder then how they were getting anything done. But get enough sleep, but don't oversleep. Decide how much sleep your body requires and train yourself to get only that amount of sleep. Now, I'm not trying to belittle anybody at all that sleeps a little bit longer than possibly what another person is used to. Again, find out how much you need. So there's no limit to the amount of short-term goals you can make on your way to achieving your long-term goals. In fact, the more consideration you put into your short-term goals, the more likely you are to succeed. And that goes along just like the goal that I showed you a moment ago, the thermometer, and making sure at the end of the month we had a certain amount of cars sold. Well, that helped us to achieve our yearly goal and to be at a certain pace on how many cars were sold so the company could be profitable and stay in business, and everybody that worked there could make the money they needed to achieve the goals they had set for themselves. And that, we're talking about monetary there. But the main thing in all this that we've got to remember is having great moral character in achieving these goals. And that's the real goal that we should be working towards. All the other goals out there are minimal compared to that. If you'll go to page 121, it even, right here, it talks about goal maintenance requires character. Once you've decided on what your goals are and have written them down, the next step is to start putting your ideas into practice. You have to work at maintaining these goals in order to accomplish them. And to maintain a goal is to be committed in words and actions to bring it to success. You've got to have the commitment, you've got to have the motivation, and you have to have the knowledge to bring that forth. Maintaining honest goals requires that you do practice positive moral character traits such as responsibility, determination, courage, discipline, optimism, self-control, patience. Without these positive traits, difficulties could arise, and it would make it very tempting to abandon your goal and give up on it altogether and go off into depression in some way. So keep that in mind. Be very aware of positive character traits and negative character traits, and be willing to put aside those negative traits as much as you can. You're working on that as you're working on these other goals too. Okay, let's on to go to this page 123. So we're talking about the setbacks and how easy it is to kind of get caught up in them, and well, I'm never going to make it, or it's never going to work for me. I just can't seem to get it. I snapped at somebody yesterday, and I'm just not going to be able to get it. Oh, just forget it, or whatever the goal might be. There's going to be many times in achieving this goal of this developing great positive moral character. There's going to be many times that you don't quite achieve your goal for the day. But don't take that setback and dwell on it. Get up, keep on going. Protect yourself. I'd like to show you this little picture. Actually, the Peaceful Solution has made use of this picture pretty well. When we were talking about influences, I remember, he was building a wall that had great positive moral character traits written on some of these bricks, so he had to build up these things to protect himself from negative influences coming his way. Well, today we're dealing with that setback coming his way. And again, he has to have the same bricks in his wall, the same defensive wall built up with all these great positive character traits that we're talking about to be able to withstand these setbacks. Let's talk about it for just a minute. When planning goals, it's important to consider the things that could keep you from achieving your objectives. Circumstances that interfere with these goals are called setbacks. And there's going to be times when, as hard as you try to plan for every problem, there is always going to be unexpected stuff that comes your way. These are the curveballs and the pitfalls. It comes your way. You see, you think you see it coming straight ahead, and all of a sudden it goes, well, you've got to learn to deal with it, and don't get all upset about it. So setbacks can come in many different forms, shapes, and sizes, and sometimes circumstances will occur that are beyond your control. You had no way of knowing, and there's nothing you could do about it at the time, so you've just got to work around it and find another way to achieve that goal if it's a positive goal. This is where learning to accept that there are some things you can control and some things you cannot. It's really helpful to be able to do that. And, of course, there's a couple examples there, but look on down right there by the little setback rocket. It says other common obstacles to achieving your goals are a lack of planning. If you've ever had a few setbacks, you'll know that planning is extremely important. Lack of organizing, making bad choices, and so forth. And just like these unexpected situations, these setbacks create barriers. So accepting that setbacks can occur is your opportunity to plan for healthy, effective ways to deal with them. Don't get caught up on the disappointment that comes, from that. So we're going to stop right there. I didn't mean to get too deep into that because it's going to be covered more in the next lessons that come. But we needed to give you an overview as the teacher of what to expect and some of the things and how they apply and how our past lessons come into play with this lesson also and with goal setting. You've got to be prepared for these goals. You've got to be prepared for the setbacks. You've got to be prepared for when you have successes too. You don't want to get all proud and everything. You want to remain humble all the way through this process to achieve your goals. So I hope one of your goals is to be here next week on Sunday at 5:30 p.m. and be ready for another teacher certification class, and with our teacher, which should be Chris Heiler. And we look forward to being here and seeing us, and we look forward to seeing you also. So I hope you make that your goal this week also. Thank you.